Imagine waking up on a freezing Tuesday morning. You stumble out to your car, ready to commute to a job that barely covers inflation. You press the button for your heated seat, a feature already built into the hardware, a feature you physically possess, but it does not turn on. Why? Because your credit card on file expired last night. You did not pay the $18 monthly ransom to activate the warmth. Welcome to the new reality. We are being told that the subscription economy is about convenience. They say it is about access over ownership. But what if I told you that is the greatest lie ever sold to the American public? What if the gradual disappearance of ownership, from your software to your movies, your car features, and soon your housing, is not an economic evolution, but a calculated, engineered return to feudalism? Look at your bank statement right now. Really look at it. How many charges are there for things you will never actually own? You are bleeding wealth by 1,000 cuts. You are working harder, yet your net worth is stagnant. Why? Because the system has shifted from selling you products to renting you your own life. This is not capitalism. Capitalism requires private property. This is subscription serfdom. And the ultimate goal is not just to take your money, it is to strip you of the power to say no. Before we expose the terrifying financial mechanism driving this, and trust me, the receipt is deeper than you think, I need to know who is awake. Where are you watching from? And what represents freedom to you? Drop it in the comments. And if you want the unfiltered truth about the war on your wallet, smash that subscribe button. We are the resistance.
To understand the trap we are walking into, we have to look back 800 years. In the feudal system, a serf owned nothing. The lord owned the land, the tools, and the mill. The serf worked the land, paid a portion of their harvest to the lord as rent, and in exchange, they were allowed to exist. They had no equity. They had no capital. They lived on borrowed land and borrowed time. Then came the rise of the middle class, the concept of private property, the idea that if you bought a hammer, you owned that hammer. If you bought a plot of land, no lord could kick you off it. Ownership was freedom. Ownership was the only shield against tyranny. But watch closely what is happening today. In the 17th century, the wealthy elite enacted something called the Enclosure Acts. They took public land that everyone used freely, fenced it off, and forced the peasants to pay rent to use it. Today, we are witnessing the digital enclosure movement. Think about Adobe Photoshop. 10 years ago, you bought the software on a disk. It cost you $600 one time. You owned it. You could use it for 10 years. Today, you cannot buy it. You must rent it for $54.99 a month. If you stop paying, the software on your computer, which uses your RAM and your electricity, stops working. You have been fenced out of your own tools. Sound familiar? It is the Enclosure Act all over again. But this time, the fences are made of code. Think about John Deere tractors. Farmers pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for a machine, but the software inside it is locked. They are legally forbidden from repairing their own property. They have to pay authorized dealers just to keep the machine running. They own the metal, but they rent the brain. Sound familiar? It is the feudal lord telling the peasant he cannot fix his own plow without paying a tribute. And now, look at the housing market. Massive investment firms like BlackRock are buying up single-family homes by the thousands, outbidding regular families with cash offers. Their stated public goal? To create a nation of renters. They want to turn the American dream of equity into a monthly subscription service called Housing as a Service. Sound familiar? This is the deliberate destruction of the middle-class wealth ladder. When you own things, a house, a car, a DVD collection, a software license, you have assets, you have leverage, you have security. When you subscribe to everything, you have liabilities, you have cash outflow, you are vulnerable. The official narrative says, this is the sharing economy. They tell you, you will own nothing and you will be happy. But let us translate that into financial reality. You will own nothing and we will own everything and you will pay us forever. But here is the question nobody asks. Why now? Why did every company from heated seat manufacturers to taco chains suddenly decide to force you into a subscription? It was not a marketing decision, it was a banking decision.
You might think this shift happened because of technology. You might think it is just greedy CEOs wanting a bonus. While that is partially true, those are just the puppets. The puppet master is a specific financial mechanism that changed the way the entire global economy is valued. The twist in this story is not about the product, it is about the valuation. In the old world, a company was valued based on how much stuff it sold. If Ford sold 1 million cars, they made money. But sales are unpredictable. Maybe next year, people do not buy cars. Wall Street hates unpredictability. Enter the era of ZIRP, or zero interest rate policy, and the hunt for yield. Investors realize that selling a product once is a terrible business model for the stock market. Why? Because you have to resell the customer again next year. But a subscription is a contract. It is a promise of future cash flow that theoretically never ends. Wall Street introduced a metric that became the god of the modern economy, ARR, or Annual Recurring Revenue. They told CEOs, we don't care if you make a profit selling widgets. We will only boost your stock price if you can prove you have a subscriber base that pays you automatically. This created a perverted incentive structure. Companies stopped innovating to make better products that you want to buy and started innovating ways to lock you into ecosystems you cannot leave. They realized that the most profitable customer is not a happy customer. It is a trapped customer. But the conspiracy goes deeper. It involves a financial instrument that turns your monthly Netflix, Spotify, and BMW payments into a tradable asset for the ultra-wealthy. A mechanism that ensures you remain in debt not because you spent too much, but because your debt is someone else's asset. You won't believe the name of the system they are building to track this. It is not just about credit scores anymore. It is about a total ledger of your life's consumption. And the receipt for this plan? It is wilder and more terrifying than you think. Let us strip away the marketing buzzwords and look at the raw, ugly math of parasitic finance. We are going to dive into the mechanism of asset-backed securitization of recurring revenue. This is the how.
This is why your heated seats are locked. First, the valuation multiplier. Wall Street values subscription revenue anywhere from 3 times to 10 times higher than one-time sales revenue. Here is a shocking statistic. When Adobe switched from selling boxed software to the Creative Cloud subscription model in 2013, their revenue initially dipped, but their stock price exploded. Since that pivot, Adobe's stock has risen over 1,500%. Why? Because they traded ownership for usership. They traded a customer who buys once every 3 years for a serf who pays every month until they die. The market realized that a serf is worth 10 times more than a free customer. Second, the securitization of your monthly life. This is where it gets dark. Companies are now taking their future subscription receivables, that means your future monthly payments, and bundling them together. Just like they did with mortgages in 2008, remember the Big Short? They are doing it with subscriptions. They bundle thousands of software contracts or gym memberships or car leases into a bond. They sell these bonds to investors who want a steady yield. What does this mean for you? It means your future labor has already been sold. When you sign up for that car subscription, the company effectively sells the rights to your next 36 payments to a hedge fund immediately for upfront cash. They need you to keep paying to satisfy the bondholders. If you own the car, the cash flow stops.
The bond defaults. The system crashes. Therefore, ownership must be destroyed to protect the bond market. Let us look at the numbers. They are staggering. Statistic 1. The average American now spends $219 per month on subscription services. That is over $2,600 a year post-tax income, vanishing into the ether with zero equity built. Statistic 2. The subscription economy is projected to reach a market size of $1.5 trillion by 2025. That is $1.5 trillion of wealth transferred from the working class to the asset class annually without the transfer of property title. Statistic 3. In the automotive sector, leasing has skyrocketed. But the real shock is the future. UBS predicts that by 2030, the subscription market for cars alone could be worth $100 billion. Not buying cars, subscribing to features within cars. Statistic 4. Look at housing. Institutional investors like BlackRock and Vanguard control tens of trillions in assets. In some American neighborhoods, 30% to 50% of home sales are going to investors, not families. They are turning neighborhoods into subscription farms. Consumer debt is at an all-time high, over $17 trillion. Why? Because when you own nothing, you have no collateral. You cannot borrow against a Netflix subscription. You cannot sell your digital license of Microsoft Word to pay for a medical emergency. You are asset poor and cash flow drained. This mechanism creates two distinct classes: the rentiers, those who own the assets, the intellectual property, the software, the land, the algorithms. They do not work for money. Their assets harvest money from you. And the precariat, that is us, the precarious proletariat. We have income, but we have no wealth. We are running on a hamster wheel where the speed is set by the subscription fees. This is moral hazard
on a civilizational scale. When a company sells you a dishwasher, they want it to work for 10 years, so you trust the brand. When a company rents you a dishwasher, they want it to break or become obsolete, so you have to upgrade your tier. Apple slows down old iPhones. John Deere locks tractors. Video game companies shut down servers for games you bought, rendering them unplayable. This is planned obsolescence turbocharged by the subscription model. They are engineering a society where you are not a citizen, you are a user, and users can be banned. Users can be deplatformed. Users can be priced out. Think about the psychological toll. It creates a background hum of anxiety. You know that if you lose your job for 3 months, you do not just lose your income, you lose access to your music, your movies, your work tools, your transportation, and potentially your roof. You lose your entire life because you built it on rented land. This is the illusion of convenience, masking the reality of control.
We are standing on the precipice of a permanent shift in human relations. The modern system is faster, more global, and more efficient at extraction than any feudal lord could have ever dreamed. The lord of the manor had to send a tax collector to your door. The tech lords of today just change a line of code, and your bank account is drained. If we accept this subscription serfdom, we are handing over the keys to our autonomy. We are accepting a world where privacy is a premium feature, where ownership is a luxury for the 1%, and where the middle class is reduced to a battery that powers the asset bubbles of the elite. This is a lesson in denial. We deny it is happening because it feels convenient. It feels cheap to pay $10 a month instead of $500 up front. But that is the trap of borrowed time. You are trading your long-term sovereignty for short-term liquidity. The next collapse will not be a stock market crash. It will be an access crash. It will happen when the subscription prices rise faster than wages, and millions of people are simultaneously locked out of their cars, their homes, and their software. We must reject the normalization of usership. We must fight for the right to repair. We must prioritize owning physical media, physical tools, and physical assets. We must vote with our wallets against companies that try to rent us our own hardware. The era of trusting institutions built on extracting our future is over. So I have to ask you a final question. Are we wiser now, seeing the bars of the digital cage, or are we going to keep walking down this path just because the suits look better than the rags of the past? If this video woke you up, do not keep it to yourself. Share it. Talk about it. Refuse to be a serf. And if you want to arm yourself with the knowledge they do not teach you in school, click that subscribe button right now. I will see you on the other side of the paywall.